What is up, car addicts? In this video I'm going to be giving a guide for this week's normal time trial, RC Bandito time trial, and the premium race for this week, totaling over $300,000. Remember, the time trials can only be completed once a week for the full $100,000 payout. The premium race, however, can be completed in a limited amount of times with a 48-minute cooldown between each win. Also keep in mind that rocket-powered / flying vehicles cannot be used in time trials. So, starting off with the time trial this week, which is Lake Vinewood Estates, I highly recommend either the Shotaro, Hakuchu Drag, or a Baddie 801 for this time trial. Now, I will say this time trial does give a good bit of extra time, so there's a ton of other vehicles you could complete it with as well. Really quick sports cars, supercars, even some quick off-roaders as well. Now, in terms of route, this one is pretty easy with a few shortcuts throughout, and depending on what vehicle you're using, there are more risky shortcuts you can take as well, but in this one, I'm going to be showing the very easy and efficient shortcut routes. Now, usually for these time trials, I challenge myself by picking either the prize ride or the casino podium car of the corresponding event week, and sometimes the drip feed car as well. And for this week, we have the Ardent on the prize ride and the Slam Truck on the casino podium. Now, obviously, the Slam Truck is way too slow for this time trial, so I figured I would use the Ardent instead. And when I got to the time trial with the Ardent, it said that it cannot be used in time trials, which I find extremely annoying and I don't really understand because this is not a rocket-powered car. Now, you could probably say that's because of the machine guns out front, but there's a lot of other cars that have machine guns that you can use in time trials as well, so very, very confusing there. But I guess probably has something to do with the fact that the custom version of this car can't be used in races either. So when I said to myself, well, I'll just use the drip feed car that released this week, which was the Patriot Mil-Spec, but that one is also too slow for this time trial, kind of a similar situation to the Slam Truck, so I ended up deciding to use the Pegassi Ignis. It's still a contract DLC vehicle, and I figured it would be pretty fun with that. Moving on to this week's RC Bandito time trial, which is Vespucci Beach. As always, you need to own an RC Bandito in order to participate in these. This one is pretty tricky if you've never done it before due to the tight areas and the bumpy turns as well. And when you get to some of those tighter corners, make sure to slow down and brake and not be on that throttle until you're over that specific bump or you've completed that specific turn. If you get on the throttle during a bump or a turn, you will end up flipping or spinning out. So if you want to have an easy run with a Bandito, it pretty much most of it has to do with letting off that throttle. And also, when you use your brakes for some of those tighter corners, make sure to press them in about halfway, not all the way, or you might lose control of your Bandito. And lastly, we have this week's premium race, which is 8-figure bonus. This one is restricted to the Sports Classics class. This is a corner-intensive race with high-speed corners, bumpy areas during those turns, and tons of curb boosting lines you can take as well. So if you see me going on and off a lot of curbs and sidewalks in this race, that's because I am getting speed boosts off of those. Now, in terms of what vehicle to use for this race, I highly recommend either the Turismo Classic, Cheetah Classic, Rapid GT Classic, or the Retinue Mark II for this race. Now, the quickest one for this race, at least from my experience, is the Retinue Mark II, with the second best one being the Cheetah Classic, as it absorbs the bumps a bit better in comparison to the Turismo on the specific track. It's just a bit more consistent, but again, ultimately the Retinue Mark II is the best for this race. But I wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge, so I will be using the Cheetah Classic for this race. And that's it, guys. The normal time trial is pretty tricky because of the traffic and the shortcuts, but if you use a quick car or bike, you should be able to beat it pretty easily. The RC time trial is pretty tricky as well, but just take it slow and you should be fine. And this week's premium race might take some practice if you've never done it before. Again, remember guys, you can earn over $300,000 between the three this week, and setting yourself to go to beat them is always a lot of fun in my personal opinion. Let me know which one you found most difficult and what vehicles you used down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.